Ag Tire Talks Driving Yield Through Tire Technology podcast is sponsored by Michelin Agriculture. Farm Forward, the impact of advanced tire tech.
James Tusher with Ag Tire Talk here. I'm with Dave Paulk, Manager Field Technical Services for BKT USA. Thanks for being with us today.
Good morning, James. Glad to be here.
It was at National Farm Machinery, saw the AgriMax Factor. I was really taken aback because it was a little bit different design, had a couple of really cool features. So why'd you build this thing with just a little bit different lug? It's a little bit of an increased lug length and a little bit changed lug orientation. So why did you build this thing, Dave?
So we've been making the AgriMax RT 765, which is our 70 series tire for a while.
Yes.
The AgriMax Factor is also a 70 series tire. But what we did is the RT 765, the casing is made with nylon.
Yes.
Which there's nothing wrong with nylon
Nothing
casings.
wrong.
Everybody makes them. They've been made for years with nylon. It's a strong material. But the more testing that we do, I guess if you buy a tractor and pay $500,000 for it, you want it to ride good, right? And so, that's
Amen.
so that's kind of the concept that BKT is going with the Factor. They don't just test for, all the other things they've always tested for, like in the field and traction and all this. Now they test for ride comfort. They test for driving, for stopping distance. They test for handling, maneuverability.
It's amazing. I was out there at Booge. I saw it. I mean, yeah, they test everything.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of what's driven the AgriMax Factor. So instead of a nylon casing, we've made it with a polyester casing.
right.
The thing about polyester is when it gets cold, it doesn't flat spot like nylon does, so you don't get that bump until it warms up. Plus, it also gives you good handling, good maneuverability. It's a different material to go with, but it's strong. It's plenty strong enough for farm tire applications, and it just gives you a better ride.
Amen. And we're seeing more and more polyester carcasses or casings come out now because, they like that stability. They like that ride, right? So, that's kind of the new thing that's going on. So great to see that in this particular offering. The other thing that really I want to talk about is really what that increased lug length does and that changed orientation, right? Because, right, you're putting that increased lug length, so you're getting a little bit more, less void ratio in the center there, right?
Yeah.
And changing that lug orientation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of the day, what we're talking about is better roading and smoother
Yes.
ride.
Yes. And also don't lose your traction in the field. We went pretty much, most of our tires are 45-degree angles.
Yes.
The AgriMax Factor is 43. Right.
Nice.
So they extended the lug just a little bit towards the middle to give you better rideability on the road with it, but it didn't harm the traction in the field. You still get the good traction and all that in the field, and it cleans out well and all that.
They really balance it because we all know that when you decrease that lug angle a little bit, it's better overall for traction. 45 has been around a long time, really innovative to really change that center a little bit and reduce that lug angle on the edge. Sounds like an awesome combo, really, really does. One of the things I want to talk about too is really electrification. You build a full range of sizes in this particular tire.
Yep.
But really the other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, when you change that lug orientation like that, change that center, we're going to have less rolling resistance.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So really when it comes down to rolling resistance on the road, number one, it's going to not only reduce our fuel, but if we're going to do an electric version, which is starting to get more popular with some of the livestock stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to give them a little bit more runtime.
And it does, and it will give them a little bit more runtime. We make some large sizes in that, and the whole line has the E-Ready logo on it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen some of those sizes yet come into that because most of the electric tractors are still small sizes. But I can tell you, I don't know how long, I don't know the time period, but they're coming.
They're coming.
They're going to be here at some point. So
they're going to be here at some point. It's interesting on that particular front. A lot of the livestock, the smaller stuff, right? You just plug it. It's kind of easy. You're not messing around with the diesel. But when you still get to corn, soybeans, and wheat, we're still not seeing any deviation because you just got to get stuff done at that particular point. And diesel seems to be still the go-to for that. Doesn't seem to really sway much from that standpoint. All right, so let me see if I got it. So really, we're talking about a nice full array of large ag sizes, including the one we're talking about today, the 710, 70 R42, which does go on the large full-wheel drives. We're talking about increased lug length, improved roadability, polyester carcass, but there's one other point that I wanted to make mention. You did DLG test this particular tire.
Yes.
Now, it's part of the German Agricultural Society. I was amazed once again, I looked at the data, and when it comes to reduced sole compaction, you beat them all. I mean, they talk about reference tire A, B, C, D, and E. In this particular test, there was less pressure to the sole with the AgriMax Factor. You want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah. So again, air pressure determines the ground bearing pressure. And
Yes.
so the less air pressure you can run in there. Now, these tires are not IF and VF technology tires. However, they do have, because of the E logo, they have a build-up bead area.
Yep.
And they have a little bit beat up sidewall. So you can run, so the air pressure, you can run a little bit less air pressure in them to carry the load, to carry the weight that you need to. And that gives you a wider footprint to spread out the weight of the tractor, gives you less ground bearing pressure. Therefore, it gives you less soil compaction.
Well, and as a wrap, as we close our time together, wonderful to see BKT go from over the decades to really building entry-level products to now we're getting to where we're just premium products up against the other main competitors out there. And really, the proof is in the pudding when you come down to really just proving it. Not only getting your ride comfort from all the testing, but independent tests are now showing that you can stand up against anyone out there. Really great to see that. Okay. Any last points I might have missed on this particular tire?
No, I think we've had the Factor out now for about a year. We're starting to sell some in the US. We're starting to get more and more of them in, more and more sizes in to the US. We still sell the 765.
Yes.
Which is a 70 series. Yep. And so, but it's just a new product that we've brought out, and we're starting to get more and more in there. They do give you a better ride. They do ride better on the road. They are a little bit more forgiving with fuel savings and things like that. So there's definitely some advantages to them.
Check it out. And that's a wrap.